and I do kodan performance. And kodan is a Japanese traditional storytelling performance. And I started this career as an apprenticeship. So I am an apprentice, and I have a master, and his name is Kanda Shunyo. And he gave me my name, Yokan. So, Kanda Yokan. Yokan is actually a Japanese traditional confection, sweets confection, the name of the sweets confection. It's made of red beans with sugar. It's very sweet. But I use this as my name, as a corn form. Well, have you ever heard of kodan? Do you have any idea what a kodan is? Well, I'm not surprised if you didn't know what a kodan is, but I think you may have heard of rakugo. Rakugo is also the Japanese traditional talk performance. So both rakugo and kodan is like a very intimate friends with each other. But there is a slight difference between rakugo and kodan. Rakugo has very funny stories and polite stories. And how do I say? Then rakugo is something like to talk, but kodan is like to tell stories. So their emphasis on stories. And this rakugo is meant to make you laugh, but kodan isn't. It doesn't mean it's boring or it's flat and stale, but it is kind of meant to make you feel like interested. Sometimes it's intellectually interested, or sometimes it gives you some sort of insight to your life. But there's a bit of difference between rakugo and kodan. And what we talk, what we tell is different. We tell stories from histories and literatures. Not only Japanese literature, but also French literature and English literatures as well. And old folklores, folk tales, inside our country or outside of Japan. So there are a variety of stories are told in kodan. And it is said that rakugo has 500 stories in their performance, but it is said that kodan has about 4,000 stories in performance. And there's a slight difference between them. And what we use, the props, are a little bit different. This is shakudai. This is called, in English, a table. And this is sensu. Rakugo performer also use this sensu. An English name for this is a fan, so you can use this as a fan. And this is the characteristic prop in kodan. This is hariogi. An English name for this is also a fan, but you can't use this as a fan. This is used to make you fun. I'm joking. Well, this is actually used to add some rhythm to my story. I'll show you an example. 頃は元気3年水の家猿年10月14日武田大僧正信玄は七湯の鳴らしを整えてその在3万5004人甲府を来発して遠州七郷里乾の城主天野倉家左衛門景面芦田下野の神の両人を案内者として山形三郎病江の城正景に5000人置きは差し添えて東北飯田たたらの両城へ攻めかかるその勢い八九の畑 Like this. And this is also used as a punctuation from a story. And it shows sometimes the topic has changed. And one more thing, this is used to show a sign that time has passed. Next morning, or next month, 10 years later, or a few centuries later. Like this. I can control time with this Hari-oki prop. So this is a very important prop in Kodan performance. And it is almost like, what is katana to samurai? And this is Hari-oki. This Hari-oki to our Kodan form. So this is a very important prop in our performance. As I said, this is a sense, a fan, and this is a Hari-oki. This is also called a fan, and this costume is kimono. The English name for this is kimono. So with this costume of props, we perform kodan. But I usually do this kodan by myself. Actually, this is a solo performance. So I do this by myself, and I speak the narration and speak the conversation. And in conversation, I use like separate and right and left, like the person 1 and person 2. I'll give you an example. But soft, for feeling. Then if in that wasn't speak all my sins from them. Good my Lord, how does he offer this many a day? I humbly thank you. Well. My Lord, I have remembrances for yours that I have long to be delivered. I pray you now receive. No, not I. I never gave yours. My Lord, you know right well you did. But the words of sweet breath composers make things more rich. Their perfumes lost. Take this again, for a noble mind which gives such poor and verse-proof unkind. There, my Lord. Are you honest? Like this. This is actually from Hamlet. Like this, you can separate the conversation in solo performance. But today we have 2 actors and shamisen player, and her name is鶴澤弥々氏. Please give her a warm applause. And today, as I said, I'm going to tell a story from 7 mysteries of Honjo. There are a variety of 7 mysteries, or 7 wonders around the world. The most famous one, the 7 wonders of the world. The most famous one is a pyramid in Egypt, and this kind of 7 wonders. And in Japan there are several 7 mysteries. One thing is, of course, this 7 mysteries of Honjo that I'm going to tell you tonight. And the other includes 7 mysteries of Fukagawa. This Fukagawa is the name of the place. And there is 7 mysteries of school. This is a story that is spoken among the school students, mainly elementary school students. And one story says that if you go into the school at midnight, and if you sneak into the science room, you would see that the human body is moving. That's it. It's not a big deal. So this kind of short story, I tried is gathered to make 7 mysteries of something or someone. And I'm going to tell you the story of Honjo. So I need to explain what is Honjo. Honjo is the place where now we call Sumida City. This Honjo area used to be a cold and lonely village with many bamboo groves, forests and ponds and streams and grassy fields, but few houses. But in the Edo period, in the reign of 3rd Shogun, Tokugawa Ieyasu, the land was developed, and dikes were built along the river, and many hatamoto residences and townhouses were built. But it was still a lonely place with bushes and ponds remaining here and there. This is the place of worship, and this place is also a wonder. Here we are in our place of Ryoguk. Ryoguk, the word Ryoguk can be broken down into two, which means both countries or both provinces. There's a river called Sumida River, and that makes the boundary of Shimosa province and Musashi province, which is now Tokyo. And this area used to belong to Shimosa province, now Chiba prefecture. But later it merged into Musashi province, as I said, Tokyo. So, this Sumida River used to be the boundary of both provinces. There's two provinces. And there is a bridge called Ryogokubashi Bridge. And this bridge connected both provinces. So this place is called Ryoguk. And here we are at this Ekoin temple. This place is also very significant in our history. This temple is established in the middle of 17th century, in 1657. The Great Fire of Meiriki happened. Meiriki no Taika. In this Great Fire, almost 60% of Edo had burned out, and about 100,000 people is said to have died in this Great Fire. Now in Tokyo, we have about 10 million of people living in this place. But back in the Edo period, there are about 1 million people who were living in this place. So it's about 10% of the population have died in this Great Fire. And their corpses have gathered and buried around this area. So this temple is established in order to pray for their soul to rest in peace. And this Ekoin temple is also famous for its as a venue of small wrestling performance. This used to be the main venue of small wrestling performance for 80 years, like decades of years. So this place is very significant. And this area, Honjo, had made up the story of 7 mysteries of Honjo. And today, the story that I'm going to tell you first is Oitekebori, the lead note. This story, Oitekebori, is the most famous story from 7 mysteries of Honjo. But rarely many Japanese know this story. Not many of them know this story. But what is unique is that many Japanese use this word, oitekebori, in daily use. This is used to refer to someone who is left behind. He's left behind. He's oitekebori. Aitsu oitekebori dane. People use like this. So this word oitekebori is very familiar with Japanese. And one thing I would like you to share is a characteristic part of our Japanese language. That is onomatopoeias, the expression of the sound. There are a variety of sounds, the expressions of sound. Let's say something is thrown into the water. In English it would sound like splash, or sometimes plop. And I asked to ChatGPT and it says kerplunk is the word that heavy things have dumped into the water. Yes? Well, no. So there are about 2 expressions in English, right? Splash and plop. But in Japanese, there are literally thousands of expressions. For example, pochan and dobun. It's completely different. Dobun is like much heavier. But what is unique is that topun and topon is different. topun and topun. Topun is like a little bit heavier compared to topun. I'm not sure, but it's about 10 grams of difference. I'm not sure, but there's thousands of expressions in our language. And there is even a sound to express the silence. When you slip into a water without noise, it would sound like zu. When katana is stick to someone's body without noise, it would sound like zu. So this is the sound of silence. I'm going to use this onomatopoeia in my story, so I would like you to enjoy that as well. And there is a sound that is a unique, very unique sound to express the exact situation of huge peach is floating down the river. The exact sound of the peach is floating down the river. I've never heard of the sound, and I've never seen that the big peach actually exists in this world. But what is interesting is that every single Japanese knows the sound of a huge peach is floating down the river. Really, every single Japanese knows this sound. It's donburako. Donburako. This is the sound of a huge peach. It's floating down. This is actually quote from a Japanese old folklore. Momotaro, the main character, Momotaro, is born of a big peach. But this kind of onomatopoeias. Thousands of expressions are in our language. So let's get into the story. At Kan'ei-yu, so it's about late 18th century, there was a hatamoto called Komiyama Sazen who received 8,000 koku of garbage. Well, I need to explain a little bit about this. Hatamoto is a sort of role of samurai, and sometimes compared with daimyo. Hatamoto and daimyo are both prominent role in samurai, but there is a difference. Hatamoto is a direct retainer of Tokugawa shogunate, while daimyo is a regional lord who rule their own domain. But they both are under control of Tokugawa family. And there's a difference between hatamoto and daimyo. And this hatamoto, Komiyama Sazen, received 8,000 koku of garbage. This koku is the salary, but it's actually the amount of rice. One koku means that the amount of rice that one man can live with this amount of rice for a year. So 8,000 koku means that 8,000 people can live with this amount of rice for a year. So that's a lot, quite a lot. And this Komiyama Sazen was lived by the southern canton of Honjo. Now we call this place Kinshicho. So it's the next station from Ryogoku station. And he was 40 years old and he didn't have a child. So he had two concubines, Otaka and Osawa, in addition to his wife Oyori, in the hope that his own son would heir the family. But attitude shows what inside their mind. Otaka was a fair lady of pure innocence, while malicious Osawa was a lady of sharp and fierce character, and had an evil heart. They both wanted to somehow give birth to a boy themselves and make him the heir to the Komiyama family. The fair Otaka believed in Benzaiten deity at Enoshima, in Kanagawa Prefecture and prayed for a child, especially boy, to be born to her. And then perhaps her prayers were answered. This Otaka get soon pregnant and gave birth to a lovely boy, and he was named Zen-ichi. And several years have passed, and Zen-ichi grew up to be 6 years old, and fair Otaka gave birth to another child. So Zen-ichi became her elder brother. His younger sister was named Otsui. This made the wife Oyone, and another concubine Osawa, jealous of Otaka. Of course it should be. If concubine Otaka had her son be heir, the wife would have no possession, and the other concubine, Osawa, would have no reason to be here.
Mistress, those children are so lost. Why don't we just kill them?
I was thinking that too. But it would be dangerous for us if we do anything rash.
I have an ingenious idea.
However, the two cannot harm them directly. While they were devising various measures to take in their life, several summers has passed, and Zen-ichi became 10 years old, and his younger sister, Otsu, 5 years old. Despite all their plans, Oyone and Osawa were unable to kill Zen-ichi. Osawa, it is a pity that you cannot kill Otaka and her children after all, but I have a good idea.
What kind of plan is it?
Let's visit the shrine in the time of Ox every night from today and curse them to death. At that time, there is a rumor among the people that there is an Ushinokoku visiting a shrine at the time of Ox, which is about 2 a.m. It is a rumor that if you go to a shrine in the time of Ox, 2 a.m., and pray for a nailed down a straw puppet made of straw, to a standing tree with a 6-inch nail, and pray for 21 days, the person you prayed for would surely die.
I see. That is a good device. Let's start praying that way this evening.
The two wicked women discussed bad advice to no end. Then they made a straw puppet and waited for the night to fall and prepared for the ox visit ritual. This ox visit ritual is always held in white kimono, with hair disheveled, and put on geta or one tooth missing. On their heads they wear iron rings with candles pointed at them. But it is also said that if someone sees you doing this, your wishes will not come true. Bad things cannot come true. After a few days of doing this, the neighborhood soon became aware of it, and even a scoundrel, Hoshiai Ryonosuke, heard about it. One night, when Oyone and Osawa were dressed in white and nailing the straw puppet, Ryonosuke jumped out from behind the tree and said,
Hey, hey! You do such a business thing, don't you?
two women were stopped. Oyone took off her cloaks and ran away in disarray. But Ryonosuke chased after Osawa, grabbed her head and pulled her down.
Who are you? Why are you busy with animals? Tell me, what are you death. Let ye end now.
I heard the trumpet, Otaka!
Even the evil woman, Osawa, seemed to be afraid and confessed all her resentment towards Otaka and her children.
All right. If that's the case, I think of and kill Otaka and her children. No. How about killing them first? Then killing Otaka and her son only. And then I will become her daughter's husband and join the Komiyama family.
That is a good device! You should be the master of Komiyama family.
With this agreement, the two left the place. This scoundrel, Hoshiai Ryonosuke, is without doubt a rogue. There is a reason for himself. He was a younger brother of his family, Hoshiai family. As I told you, what matters in Komiyama family was that the head of this family, Komiyama Sazen, didn't have a child, didn't have a boy to inherit the family name. But what if there were more than 2 boys in one household? The eldest son would heir all the family name, and the younger brother had just nothing more than a spare to this family. So this younger brothers are asked to do nothing, literally nothing. They are not allowed to work, get a job, or marry someone without permission. So, but they live in a household and they receive a bit of money. So, what a man would do if he had money and time and not a job? Gambling. He met with rogues. He who keep company with wolf will learn how to howl. This Hoshiai Ryonosuke could have been a man, good man in temper. But this Hoshiai Ryonosuke became rogue after all. So as I said, there is a reason for himself. But it won't be an excuse of his wrongdoing. Ryonosuke and Osawa's plan worked, and the head of the Komiyama family, Komiyama Sazen, lost his life. And all that remains in their plan are Otaka and Zen Ichiro, who inherited the family reign at the age of 10. They discussed various ways to kill Zen Ichiro and Otaka and bring Ryonosuke into Komiyama family as soon as possible, but time flew by, and it was now past the middle of April. Around this time, there was a pond called Oitekepo, a leaving boat near the southern canal of Honjo. The malicious Osawa, who was shrewd in her evil ways, came up with the idea of taking Otaka and her son, Zen Ichiro, out to the leaving boat and drowning them in the pond, saying to look around kohone flowers, water lilies. This kohone, water lilies, are beautiful plants with a yellow flower. This kohone can be broken down into ko is a river, and hone is bones. River, bones. And it has got its name because its roots are white and thick, like bones. This place called Oitekewori used to be a big pond, and many fish used to live there. When you tried to catch fish, you'd catch a lot, but when it came to go home, you'd hear a sound, a voice from the middle of nowhere. Oiteke! Oiteke! Leave it! When you looked into the fish basket, you would see that the fish were missing. Or other rumor says that if you didn't leave fish or any other items, you would be cursed. People began to call this place Oiteke. Although this is a very lonely place, in the prime of the year, wisteria flowers bloom around the pond, and kohone flowers bloom on the surface of the water, making a very nice sight. On 24th April, a malicious Osama went to Fair Otaka's room.
I heard that the kohone flowers are improving in the pond. We are first doing this every day. So let's take Zeiichiro-san to see them together tomorrow.
That is a good idea. By all means, let's bring children with us. The next day at noon, they decided to go and see the flowers at the boat. Otaka wanted to take her daughter with her, but Ryonosuke would not be able to marry into Komiyama family unless Otsu was alive. So Oyone and Osawa persuaded her to leave her daughter behind in the house. When they left the house and came to the pond, they found that the wisteria was blooming on the bird and kohone flowers blooming on the surface of the water.
It's so beautiful!
Osawa looked around and said,
Hey, Otaka, there's a small boat over there. Let's go for a ride on it.
but isn't it a bit scary? Because it is rumored that something lives in this pond. Then a low voice is heard. Oiteke! Oiteke! Leave! Leave it! Otaka is startled and turn around and quickly find Zen-Ichiro is putting his face into the hollow of wisteria tree and uttering a voice. We're surprised, Mother. Let's go for a ride on a boat. If you don't like it, you can turn back at once. Then, Otaka and Zen-Ichiro and this malicious Osawa got in and started rowing. And the small boat glided smoothly over the calm water in the middle of the pond. And Hoshirai Ryonosuke, the scoundrel, who had been talked about this with Osawa, hid in the bushes to see what was going on. But when his eyes met with those of Osawa, soon he slid into the water. Dived into the water, went to the side of the boat, put his hand on the edge and tried to turn it over! You monster! What are you doing? Despite being a child, Zen-Ichiro is not afraid and pulls out katana from his waist and cuts Ryonosuke's hand. But Ryonosuke hastily removes his hands from the boat's edge and dives into the water. Immediately, the boat launched! Zap! tried to catch the boat edge. The osa, who was still on the boat, poked her in the eye with a thick silver head. Otaka sank into the water. Zen'ichiro's body didn't float up either. It is said that the monsters are living in Oitekibu and leaving them, but not only leaving fish behind, but also people's lives are preyed by the moat. Flesh is sucked out, and the remaining bones become soil. That kohole, the water lilies, might have been such a people in disguise. The sound of a gone bell echoes across the still water. Hereafter, Hoshiai Ryonosuke, the murderer, marries Otsuyu, who is left behind, and becomes the head of Komiyama family. And this makes an unusual couple. A husband of 23 years old and wife of 5 years old. But there is a problem that says that heavenly vengeance is slow but sure. The wheel of fate for these folks are now at its apex, but it will turn and return to them. But that is another story. This was a story of Oitekibu. This was actually a very old story. And I made it up, this story, from a script that was written 100 years ago. It's a very old story. And heavy story as well. But the next story that I'm going to tell is very relaxed and very light, so please relax. The next story is Asiagai Yasu, the foot washing house. This story is not a big deal. When in a house of Hatamoto in midnight, a huge foot, a big foot, appears, and it says, "Wash my foot." So Hatamoto washes the foot, and then it disappears. The next night, it comes down again, and it says, "Wash my foot," and then wash it, and it disappears. And next night, the foot comes down and washes it, and disappears. And the next night, it's enough. So this Hatamoto asks for a colleague for help. And they decided to exchange their houses. And then it no longer appeared in this house. That's it. This is the end of the story. But some experts said that the essence of this story is not a big foot, but the essence is the exchange of the houses. As I said, Hatamoto receives koku, the rice, for garbage. But they also receive the land and houses. So, change exchange of houses not really happened in Edo period. It was a gift from the shoulder. So rare that the exchange of house didn't happen. Unless something has happened. So people rumor what's inside, what's in the background of this exchange. So this kind of rumors made up this fifth portion. Well, let's get into the story. I wonder if it is true that there was a samurai called Mino Kasanosuke Hatamoto who lived in a Honjo, Mikasacho. This Mikasacho was located at the eastern end of southern Kyoto I just mentioned. At the end of what is now Hokusai Dori Street. And there is a Hokusai Museum. And one night, while Kasanosuke was having his servant wash himself and bathe, suddenly thunder roared, the house shook, and a large, hairy foot came crashing down with great force, breaking the sea.
You monster! I'm going to defeat you!
Kasanosuke pulls out katana and is about to slash it, but the blade goes right through the leg, leaving not even a scratch. Then, whoosh, my foot! Comes a voice from above. When Kasanosuke and the servant are startled and unable to move, the big legs start to romp it and try to make mess of the house.
All right! Oh, hey, Otaki! Bring me a wash-down!
And Otaki brings the wash-down. The master has no choice but to come close to wash the foot by himself.
It stinks! I can smell the smell! It smells disgusting!
The smell was so bad that Kasanosuke held his breath as he washed the foot roughly. But don't be lazy! Wash more carefully! The foot goes banging around.
Oh! Hey, Otaki!
Eh? Do I have to do it?
Who else is here? You do it!
I understand.
Otaki carefully washes it down between his fingers and toes. Seemed to be satisfied, it moved smoothly and disappeared behind the sea, without saying a word, but leaving a huge hole in the roof. All the household was relieved, so all they went, slept, and the morning came without further trouble. But in order to avoid a leak and all the house gets soaked, a carpenter was called in during the day to patch up the large hole in the roof. That evening, the thunder roared through the house just as it did yesterday, and a large foot came down through the ceiling. Apparently, the smell was better, because it had been washed thoroughly yesterday. Again, Kasanosuke tells the servant to wash the foot, and the servant carefully washes the foot. And then, seemed to be satisfied, it disappeared into the sea. Several days have passed since washing the big foot, became an important and indispensable part of nightly routine in this household. Human habituation is an extraordinary thing, and so is Otaki, the servant girl.
Maybe I'll try a new song tonight.
She laughs and talks about it. In those times, soup was a luxury item and not easy to afford. In those days, ordinary houses didn't have their private baths. So townspeople and low-ranking samurai went to town's public baths. In the public baths, they washed their bodies with a bag of runs, which is a leftover produced when rice is polished. That night, the sound of thunder, the foot came down again. But first seemed to get used to it, and it no longer breaks through the ceiling and comes down very smoothly.
Yes, yes, I'll be waiting for you.
The foot wiggles its fingertips, as if to say, hey, you know what to do. Again, Otaki washes the foot. And then it disappears. The next night, when Otaki, the servant, was getting ready for its arrival, thunder rumbled again and the house shook.
Not again.
Oh, help me!
Screaming voices heard from the yard. Startled, Otaki ran over to see to find that the foot is trembling when a man,
Help me!
a man with his face covered with a cloth, asks for help. But covering his face is clearly a type of thief.
What a sin!
Otaki takes up the man's cover.
What? You were the carpenter who fixed the ceiling the other day. What do you say?
No. I'm not serious. It was them in this house. I just gotta be carried away. I haven't stolen anything. So please let me go.
Then a loud voice is heard. You are a liar!
Oh.
And the foot stomps on the thief.
Oh. All right. I tell the truth. Oh. I am Nezumi the sea.
You are the great thief, Nezumi Kozo Jirokichi?
I am. By the way, I'm a dear postmaster in history, and I'm born in grave just over there, in here, echoing. Come see me after this performance. Oh! Come on! Get me off this bird and help me!
I'm not the one who decides that.
And Otaki looked at the top of the leg. Wash my face!
I prepared all the needed.
All right, I'll do. Just move the foot. Oh,
Then the thief, fearful, starts to wash the big foot. head appeared. But the big leg seemed satisfied and disappeared into the sea. And it was already dawn.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then again, thank you. How can I thank you for this?
I and the food are ready for you tomorrow.
What I can agree.
It is just only thing that I don't want to do.
The thief runs away and leaves the house. After a few days, people started to rumor that monster of foot lives in Mino Kasanosuke's house, Mikasacho, Honjo. Another rumor says that the monster has beaten the thief, and the whole town is talking about it. In no time at all, people gather at the house of Kasanosuke. A box. So, the people in the house can't sleep at night. Finally, a rumor spreads that washing the big feet will bring you fortune. And people came up and asked it favor to wash its foot, cut its nails, remove the grimes, and remove its hair. So the big foot had transformed into a beautiful foot, as if it had been to a beauty salon. The foot thought, this is unbearable. I can't stand. I can't stand. Although I am his foot, I can't stand. And it never came up from the ceiling. This is the story of Ashihara Iyashi, the foot washing cat. This is nothing more than a made-up story because this is a story of Mino Kasanosuke's house from Mikasacho. Mino Kasanosuke from Mikasacho. So there's a wordplay with that. So this is nothing more than a made-up story. But anyway, this sort of stories are gathered to form the 7 mysteries of Honjo. We presented 2 stories from 7 mysteries of Honjo. One was Oitekebori, and the second was Ashihara Iyashi, foot washing. This kind of not so much funny, or sometimes, this kind of short stories are everywhere in Japan. So, finding this kind of story or finding the place where this kind of story has happened or rumor might be the best journey in Japan. Well, thank you very much for coming today.
So this is the end of our performance today. As I said before, please take a moment to complete the survey before you go. You can complete either by scanning the QR code on your paper, or simply jotting down your thoughts on the paper itself. And once you've finished, you're free to depart, and also ask me if you have any problems. Yeah, so this is the end. We hope to see you again in the future. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you
very much.
うん。